Okay, so I am in my new house, and my wife bought me an easel here. It's a little bit wobbly, but we will see how it works. This is my new setup, so hopefully you guys like it. I got books behind me, so people think I'm smart. Anyway, I do like books. So today we're going to do chapter 36, subtracting fractions and mixed numbers from whole numbers. So say we have a class pizza party. Everyone gets a piece of pizza because you guys rock, you're amazing. So, I buy 5 pizzas. Everyone gets 1 piece. And let's say that there are 8 pieces of pizza. There's 4. There's 6. There's 8. There's 8 pieces of pizza for each one here. So this would be 8, 16, 24, 32, 40 pieces of pizza, okay? Everyone gets 1 piece. So we're going to eat, we have 30, say around 30 people in our class, plus me, so it'd be 31 pieces. So we know that 1 piece is 8, next one is 16, next one is 24, 32. Alright, so we're going to at least eat 1, 2, 3, almost 4 pieces of pizza, okay? So let's go ahead and do this math problem. We have 5 pieces of pizza. And we know that 8 eighths right there, we have 8 eighths is equal to 1. This is the most important concept. If you don't understand how 8 eighths of a piece of pizza equals 1, then you're going to be really confused. Okay? So let's go ahead and take 5, and we're going to eat 3 pieces of pizza, and then right here, let's say 7 eighths. So we're subtracting 3 pieces of pizza, and then 7 eighths from 5. Alright, we're going to change this 5 into a mixed number. Alright? And how we're going to do that is I'm going to take 1 pizza, and instead of writing it as a whole number, I'm going to write it as a mixed number. And we already established here earlier that 8 eighths is equal to 1 pizza. This board's a little wobbly, sorry about that. Okay, so 8 eighths equals 1 pizza. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a number from the whole number. What you do is you take a whole number and you subtract it. So now we're only going to have 4 here. But that pizza doesn't disappear. I took one number, 1 pizza, and I subtracted it, but I'm going to add it back in as a fraction. So 4 and 8 eighths is the same as saying 5. That's the same thing as saying 5, because 4 and 8 eighths, 1, 2, 3, 4 pizzas, and then 8 eighths is the same as 5 pizzas. Now we can subtract. That right there is the most difficult part. From here on out, you guys are really good at this. You guys know that the denominator stays the same. You want common denominator, 8, 8, 8. Alright, and then you subtract the numerators. 8 minus 7 is going to be 1 eighth. 4 minus 3 is 1 and 1 eighth. So we have 1 and 1 eighth of a pizza left. So what would that look like? That would be this one gone, this one gone, this one gone, and then this one right here would have 1 left over. Okay? So we would have 1 whole pizza and 1 eighth left. Or if you want to change that to a improper fraction, you could say 8 times 1 is 8 plus 1 is 9. You have 9 eighths of a piece of pizza left, or 9 pieces of pizza. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, let's do a couple more problems. Alright, here's number 13 on your homework, and it's 3 minus 1 and 1/4. Alright. So always rewrite these problems up and down. That's very important. Okay, you're going to subtract the fractions first. obviously there's no fraction right here, so we need to get a fraction right here so that we can subtract. Okay? And we want this fraction to have a 4 on the bottom. The reason why we want it to have a 4 on the bottom is because we need a common denominator. When we subtract these fractions, we want a 4, 4, 4, all in the denominator. Otherwise, you can't subtract them. It's just a rule. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract a whole number from the 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. And that doesn't just disappear. It reappears, but only as a fraction. What is a fraction that equals 1? Because we took 1 away from here. It doesn't just disappear. We got to add it in right there. What is a fraction that equals 1 that has a 4 on the bottom? If you answered 4/4, you're correct. Now we can subtract. 4 minus 1 is 3/4. 4/4 minus 1/4 is 3/4. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. So your answer for number 13 is 1 3/4. Okay, so these are pretty easy in my opinion. I think you guys will get good at these. I'm going to do a couple problems from your homework. I'm going to start trying to do that just to help kids out, just to review some of the problems that I think people will have trouble with, some of the harder ones. So let's go ahead and go over a couple review problems. Alright, let's do number 6, 5/100. We're going to take these two words, and we're going to write them as a decimal. Okay, this right here is a 5. Okay, so before we start, let's put a decimal point, since this is going to be a decimal. Couple blank spaces. Okay, this word right here tells you where the number is going to go in relation to the decimal. Okay, so hundredths, the 5 is either going to go in one of these. It's either going to go into tenths, hundredths, or thousands. What goes there is a 5. So we know that 5 is going to go in one of those 3 spots. This says hundredths, so that means 5 goes in the hundredths spot. Okay? This is the directions of where the number goes, and this is the direction on what number goes in the hundredths spot. So we're just going to put a 0 there, and we don't need the thousands place. So your answer for number 6 is 0.05, or 5/100. Alright, number 8 is an expanded notation, and it wants you to write it in standard notation. That just means a regular number. So this is, in a weird sort of way, has some similarities to this problem up here. Basically, it tells you the number that you're going to use, and then this part of the problem is basically a directive. It tells you where that number goes in relation to the decimal. Okay, so if this is a decimal point right there, 4 is the number we use, and that number is going to go in the hundreds spot. Not the hundredths, the hundreds, because we're multiplying it by 100. So 4 is going to go right there, 3 places over from the decimal. Okay. Then it says nothing about the tens spot. So since there is not a term, this was a term, this is a term, there's not a term that multiplies by 10, we don't put anything in the 10 spot except the big fat 0. Okay? Then 3 is a number that goes in the 1 spot. And we don't have anything in the decimals, so we put zeros there as well. So this is 403. You don't actually have to write the zeros there or even the decimal point. Decimal is always implied when we're talking about whole numbers. Alright, number 15, little review. Remember there's 2 steps. Step 1, divide by denominator. Step 2 is you multiply by numerator. So let's go ahead and divide by the denominator. 28 divided by 4 is going to equal 7. So 7 equals 1/4. We have 3/4, okay, there's 1/4. We know that 7 equals 1/4. 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. So what represents 2/4? Well, that would be 14, because 7 times 2 is 14. What represents 3/4? That would be 21. And what represents 4/4? 28. Alright, so we're going to be using, we want 3/4. So then you're going to take 7 times the numerator, which is 3, and And of course, that's going to equal 21, what we kind of explained here. Alright, just a review on this. Alright, let's go ahead and go over 3/4 times 4/6. And you might say right off the bat, hey, those denominators aren't the same. I can't add them. Well, good thing, because this is multiplying. Multiplying has a different set of rules than adding fractions. Multiplying fractions is different than adding fractions. Alright, so when we multiply fractions, you simply multiply straight across. The numerator times the numerator will give you what goes in the numerator. So 3 times 4 is 12. Okay? 4 times 6 is 24. And if you reduce that, notice that 24 is double 12, so that means that 12 is 1/2 of 24. Alright, so that 12 24ths reduces to 1/2. Okay, straight. Alright, let's go ahead and do number 18, average. Remember, when you average, step 1 is you add up. So if you have a basketball team and in one game you want to score 42, next game 57, next game 63. If you want to find what you're averaging, how many points you're averaging per game, you add those up. 42 plus 57 plus 63, that's going to be 12, carry your 1, that's going to be 16. So 162 points in 3 games. Okay? You didn't score 160 points per game, but it took you 3 games to get there. Alright, so now you're going to take the answer from step 1, which is 162, and you're going to divide it by the number of numbers, or in this case, the number of games. So there are 3 games. 162 is divided into 3 different games. Alright, so 3 will go into 16 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract 16 minus 15 is 1. Bring down your 2. 3 will go into 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. Subtract 0. So 54. Our average is going to be 54. Alright, 21, 22, completely different problems. They look a little bit the same, but if you notice, for 21, 12 is the denominator, and 22, 12 is the numerator. So that requires a different algorithm to find these. Okay, so if the number is in the denominator, and that equals a whole number, okay, m over 12, if you have a problem exactly in this format, it's very simple. You just take 6 times 12. And that will give you what m equals. Okay, 6 times 12 is going to be 72. If you want to check it, it's always good to check. Take 72 and put it in for m. So that would be 72 over 12. Does that equal 6? Alright, so this is basically a division problem. 72 divided by 12 equals 6. So the answer is yes, this works out. Okay? Let's move on to this. This is a completely different problem. Some people say, oh, cool. But this problem is a different format. You're saying 12 divided by what number gives you 6? In order to find this one out, instead of multiplying 6 times 12, you're going to take 12 divided by 6. So 12 divided by 6 is going to equal n. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So 2 equals n. A lot of times, some math teachers want you to switch this around. 2 equals n equals 2. Alright, so let's sub it in and see if it works. 12 divided by n, which in this case is 2. Does that equal 6? 12 divided by 2 equals 6. Alright, so this is correct. This is correct, so the answer is yes. N does equal 2, and n does equal 72.